Good morning, everyone. Gracious. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of Epic Romantic Fantasy, and I've lost my first cup of coffee. Here we go. I was shifting around looking for the correct spot to be in. Today is, say it with me, Friday. Woo! June 10th. Yeah, good day. I'm still running a bit behind today, not as much as I was yesterday, but taking it easy, not pushing too hard. We went for a walk this morning and I did my run, so that was great. And feeling good, feeling good. Hope you all are feeling good. I have things eating plants in my garden, which is annoying me though. Alas, maybe time for the purge of the rodentia. So yeah, I got the book uploaded yesterday. It's ready to go. Release on Monday. Woo woo woo. Thank you everyone for all those pre-orders. They've really been going up the last few days. Now that you know that I'm actually going to finish the series, hope you all like it. Um, yeah, so it was good to get that done. I had kind of a different day yesterday. I did a lot of businessy things. Did writer coffee. Um, got this podcast up late as as predicted, but I got it up and ended up not going to in-person yoga, unfortunately, because I had a few things I had to get done. Uh, and I've still got to finish a few of them today. Writing that new back cover copy for the Covenant of Thorns books. I need to just plow through it. I did peek at the BCC on the first one. Um, this is one of those weird terminology things because the traditional publishers call it the back cover copy or the BCC. But sometimes, even with other authors, I'll say BCC and they don't know what I mean. So it's clearly industry jargon of limited usefulness. And a lot of people call it the blurb. And I recall doing that as when I was purely a reader, when I would be looking at stuff and I would say, oh, the blurb on the back of the book. But we also talk about the thing on the front that's like the pimping from other authors is the blurb, right? Where, like Dorinda Jones says, this is the best book I've ever read. We also call that the blurb. So it gets confusing. But at any rate, I need to write those. I did do some other stuff for Corrine so that we could get out the next dispatch from Jeffy's closet. And we'll do the cover reveal for the Covenant of Thorns books in there. Lizard going by on the wall. He's doing his dominance display for me. They do this little thing that looks like push-ups and go up and down. It's very cute. That's it. That's all right. I'm not going to get your territory. So, and another cool thing happened yesterday. So I do have this Google search set up for my name, and it's of limited usefulness, but it usually picks up this podcast. It sends me stuff that does mentions. I used to do very early on, I did like mentions for my book titles, but that ended up being like totally not useful. Uh, One thing I learned is that one word titles are really hard for search engine optimization. They're really cool, and I did them at first, but they actually suck for people being able to find your books. And so you'll like that first book I did with Carina Press back in the day, Sapphire, which I now have rights back to and need to upload one thing at a time, right? I used to have a Google search for that because it was early days and I wanted to know anything about my books that people heard. And So I had it set up for just Sapphire and then got garbage results. And I had it Sapphire plus Kennedy. And then I started getting all these weird Google alerts for mentions of like jewelry, sapphire jewelry, and Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. That was like everything I would get. So finally, I just ditched that one. But this one brings me, fairly useful stuff. And every once in a while, it gives us gold. Gives me gold. So I saw this yesterday. Um, that's a Reddit thread that this gal put up a couple of days ago. And it's just so cool. I have to share it with you. Because she said, I have found my fantasy romance White Whale Dark Wizard by Jeffy Kennedy. And she put it under gush/recommendation. She says, the further I read, the more checks on my perfect fantasy romance checklist were ticked off. I had to tell someone. So my White Whale book was an adult fantasy romance with dark themes, political intrigue, and great smut scenes. The premise was to be in a magical world where the hero and heroine have to be magically bonded for reasons, and either one or both of them don't want the bond. Preferably with a heroine who is strong, but in a smart, cunning way, not a feisty way, and with a hero who is powerful and dominant without being an arrogant arsehole. Hard checklist, one I didn't think I could get all of, but Dark Wizard fulfilled it. And she says the blurb gives a great feel for the book. However, from reading it, you might think the hero is going to be obsessed with revenge and treat the heroine like crap, a common trope. But that is not the case. He is such a sweetheart to her. He didn't grow up in high society like her, so he sees the horrible laws of the convocation, the government, for what they are. He sees how unjustly familiars like the heroine are treated and wants to change things. He also respects her knowledge of magic and politics, the reason he needed her in the first place to restore his house. Yet he is also scary and powerful when needed and is dominant in the bedroom, so my ideal hero. I think that lizard must be down in the leaves. There's something scrabbling around in there. I read the 3 books released so far in 4 days. That is how much I love this series. Fair warning though, the series is not finished, but each book ends in a happily for now, no major cliffhangers. And one of the really nice things too is like the first comment on there is she said, Jeffy is also a lovely person. And somebody else chimed in and said, 100% she is amazing, which thank you, you guys. That's just warms my heart. So I was just thrilled to see that. And then lots of comments on there with people saying, sold, going to read this now. And you guys would not believe my sales jumped hugely for that book. I mean, massively in just a day because I hadn't been looking at them because if you've been listening, you know I've been busy. So I went and looked at Amazon, and yeah, my sales hugely jumped, hugely yesterday, or hugely 2 days ago after she posted that, and then even more yesterday. So thank you, readers who gush like that. It makes all the difference in the world, and it's the kind of thing that you just can't engineer, right? And so this kind of goes back to some of the stuff I was talking about. I don't know, yesterday or Tuesday, uh, like about wanting to create a new book platform that makes this kind of thing happen. I think, understandably, authors are wanting to make this kind of thing happen because it's so great for getting books out there and getting books into the hands of the readers who will love them. I mean, that's what we really want, or at least it's what I want. I think some authors are happy to get just anyone to read them, but I always am looking to get them to the readers who will love them. And I thought it was funny because the OP, that's what we say on Reddit, because we are hip and cool, the original poster, she replied in some of the comments saying that she was surprised when she went to Goodreads to see that I was not a more popular author. It was something like that. It she didn't mean it mean, right? But it was so then they were talking about some of my other series, saying that they had just discovered me. Somebody else said they'd just gone on a big run of my books. Maybe it wasn't the OP. Maybe it doesn't matter exactly what she said. I won't go through this whole thread. Here I am going through the whole thread. It's just nice reading all the happy comments. Um, anyway, there was this reference to like, why haven't I heard of her before? I was like, I don't know. um, I, it's always a mystery, right? So, but it made me happy. It made me happy. Uh, the it's just yeah, it's just amazing getting that kind of thing. But you can't. I feel like internet marketers are always trying to create this sort of thing because it does have such a huge impact. So they're always trying to do this thing where they like access influencers and get influencers to recommend stuff and gush about stuff. And maybe this is, it goes way older because, it's like um, the old commercials. Remember those? I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV and I recommend. Um, it's that someone that you trust recommending a thing, even if it's just you trust them because they're a celebrity you recognize, you like the character that they play, or that sincere gushing that I love, love, love this thing. It ticked all of my boxes. Um, Grace and I, when we recommend books to each other, we often talk about catnip. Oh, this is your catnip. So I understand the temptation to try to create this for everybody, but because it's so awesome when it happens. But part of why it's awesome is because it is unforced and spontaneous, and um, people recognize that. People recognize the honest gushing recommendation. It is funny if you go to that thread, and I will link to it. Um, ah, hang on, I had something in my eye there. Uh, and now the thought has fled. The flot. What was I going to say? This one I wish I could rewind. Hold on. Now I thought of it. Sometimes I just need a minute, right? Have to pause and think. Uh, One of the other things that's funny about that thread is that somebody else commented, popped in there, and recommended a totally different author and series. And the OP was all, thanks for the rec. And you could kind of hear in her tone being like, but I didn't ask for recommendations. I was here to talk about this book that I love and recommend it to other people. I didn't want your recommendation. And the recommendation is for these books that are actually do not tick the boxes. That's one of the funny things because the person, um, let's see if I can find it. Oh yeah, they said, I'm a picky reader and really enjoyed it, and it seems to align with what you're looking for. But I've read that book, and reader, it does not. So, I mean, I liked it. I liked it fine. It's a classic, but it's a phenomenon. Assistant Karina and I talk about a lot. How people just want to be able to recommend a book. They want to be able to recommend something, anything, and this particular book is like 16 years old, which is nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but by now, most people will have, I mean, there's going to be some exceptions, but most people who wanted to read it will have read it. Um, Corrine mentioned that it has been sitting in her TBR pile pretty much since it came out. Or actually, it's a different one by that same author that she said that has been in her has been a TBR orphan, as we say, the books that go into your to be read pile and then languish there, little orphans, because we somehow never pick them up. And, it's like after a certain point, maybe you've read the thing, maybe you haven't. Uh, Whatever. I also got some, it's funny, I'll go like for a long time with like, I'll feel like, is anybody out there reading my books? I hear nothing. And then things will happen all at once. But I got a note from my first agency, the one that sold uh, my original 12 Kingdoms books. And they said that my publisher, Kensington, had renewed the serial rights on the Mark of the Tala. And and she said, my agent, she's the head of the agency now, so she just like handles financial stuff on those books for me. Lori McLean at Fuse, she's great. And Lori said, she said, this is really a great thing for a book as long in the tooth as the Mark of the Tala, which I thought was kind of funny. And that came out in 2014. So, and I asked her, I said, well, what does this mean? And I forwarded it to my current agent, Sarah Younger at Nancy Yost Literary, to give her equal billing. And I said, what does it mean? Which is funny because at this point in my career, it's not often that I come across some kind of rights sale that I have no idea what it means. And so Sarah said it's probably for something like Radish, that the first serial is before publication and the second serial is after. But Lori McLean said something slightly different. She said, oh, well, it's probably for being excerpted into a book or textbook. And which would be really cool. So Lori is checking to see what it is. And I mean, it's like $40, you guys. It's like, it's not like it's a lot of money, but it is cool. And one thing that Sarah said was, that is great, although not promising for getting rights backs. And I was like, I am just never going to get rights back on those books because they continue to sell. And that's one of the criteria for rights reversion is like if they're no longer in print, if they're no longer for sale, if the sales aren't reaching a certain threshold. So, it's one of those good bad things. It's great that they continue to sell. Um, Never getting those rights back. But, since I just got the rights back on 10 books, I'm busy for a little while. So one of my big projects for today is to write the new back cover copy / blurb for the Covenant of Thorns books. I have to do 3 of them. It's just not a fun task. And I ran out of bandwidth yesterday. I started one. And if you want tips on doing that, I only have a couple. One of them is that you focus on who's the character, what do they want, why can't they have it? And you could do it for both characters. In this case, it's first person point of view, so I'll write it in that first person point of view. And you try to kind of capture the same tone and feel of the book. And then one way that I do it is I just like write it all out first and then tweak it. I just sort of like try to get it all down and then fix it. Because otherwise you could just spend forever on it. And then I'm going to start going through Rogue Spawn and doing a bit of editing. I'd like to get that done today and Monday before I go on this trip. And I still haven't asked if I can talk about where I'm going and what I'm doing. So I will have to do that today as well. So, um, yeah, should be a fun weekend, should be pretty laid back. I hope you all are looking forward to a weekend full of all the things you want or empty of the things that you don't want. And I will talk to you all on Monday. Take care. Bye bye.